Percent. I'm Molly Carmel, and this is the podcast that I always wish existed. A bite sized, on the ground spiritual note that can shift your thinking and your outlook on life to make us all a little more awake, alive, and ascending. So, today I want to talk about something that for me has been a lifelong learning lesson and probably something I will talk about on this podcast over and over again. And maybe it's a little growth place for you too, the art of receiving. It sounds so simple, doesn't it? But listen, for those of us who are used to doing it all and giving it all and managing it all, sometimes receiving can feel harder than any to do list that we've ever tackled. And, I've had a lot of going on with work lately. And let me tell you something. I am in the Tony Robbins camp of it is happening to me. I was in a spiritual desert for so many years, and I thought I would never feel inspired again. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is all work that I prayed for. And so I really try to remember that when I'm overwhelmed. Try to find gratitude. But it got the best of me. And I had a week full of, double booking clients and having to move their appointments, which is just so grossly unprofessional, and missing meetings. And then, the pinnacle of it was one dog walker came at 1 p.m. and the other dog walker came at 4 p.m. And my dog was like, I don't even want to walk this much. And so I had to call the game and I had to bring in some help. And enter this amazing new partner in crime that I have named Kathy. And about 2 or 3 weeks into working together, Kathy sent me this beautiful document. It was color coded. It had some emojis. It was organized. It was thoughtful, and it just beautifully outlined her vision of how she could help me thrive. Right? It was like this manifesto. And here's my first reaction. I wasn't wow, this is great, Kathy. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you exist. My first reaction rather, was I can do all this myself. Why is she telling me how I need to do things? I could probably do 3/4 of this list on my own. Wow, wow. I felt my whole body was tensed up, and my shoulders were tight, and my chest was hot, and every cell in my body went on high alert. All of my stuff decided to rise to the surface. You don't need help. You're fine. You've got this, And below that was a bit of a quiet whisper, well, what if she doesn't even do this right? What if she hurts you, right? What if she leaves? And that's the thing about receiving. It's so loaded for so many of us because it's not just about the present moment. Receiving stirs up all the old stories that we've ever had about being disappointed, about being abandoned, about being let down. It's that scar tissue thing I talk about. It's that learned protection that says, better to do it alone than to be hurt again. I always think about, Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. But the truth is, that scar tissue that we've created, it can keep us from the very help that we've been praying for. I see that in my life all the time. So after I took a bit of a breath, I sat there looking at this generous, gorgeous document from this generous, gorgeous person. And I realized she was handing me the help that I had been praying for, right? Actually more than I was praying for. She had such a vision of how she could be useful in my life. And it was trying so hard to land gently on my desk, but I was pushing it away with all of my fear and all of my scar tissue. And I am a huge fan of a woman named Tosha Silver. She's going to be our pocket sage today. She really has changed my life in so many ways. So many of her books have changed my life. And she wrote a book called It's Not Your Money. And if you have any money issues, holy cow, this is just probably the best spiritual book on money in the whole world. It's changed my life in so many ways. And It's a lot about surrender, less about money, to be honest with you. And she writes this prayer in her book. I'm just going to give you a little snippet of it. She asks you to say it every single day, and I really try to. So here it is. I'm just going to give you a little snippet of it. Divine beloved, allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all of my own needs are always met in amazing ways and that it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. And equally, let me be open to receiving. May I know my own value, beauty, and worthiness without question. And it goes on, but let me read it again for those of you in the back. Divine beloved, allow me to give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity. Let me trust that all my own needs are always met in amazing ways and that it's safe to give freely as my heart guides. And equally, let me be open to receiving. May I know my own value, beauty, and worthiness without question. And that line, and equally let me be open to receiving, it's always the one that gets my body a little worked up because, I say this prayer a lot of mornings, but that equally part, that's where my work begins. And I love this prayer because it reminds me that receiving isn't about greed or laziness. It's actually about balance. It's about remembering that giving and receiving are part of this whole divine circle, this whole divine flow. And so I'm reminded today that we can't give freely if we can't receive freely. It's really easy to romanticize generosity, to, pour ourselves out until there's nothing left. But if we never let anything back in, whether that's love or support or compliments or help or abundance or workflows by a person we've hired to help us, we're blocking the very energy that we say that we believe in. And the thing is that receiving really requires trust. It means that we need to soften our grip and honestly, that we have to believe that we're worthy of being helped and we're worthy of being seen and supported and loved. And when Kathy gave me that document, I realized that the thing I've been praying for, ease, flow, support, it was literally right in front of me. And I almost missed it because I thought I had to stay in charge. So now I try so hard when I feel that tightness, that like, if you want something right, you got to do it yourself voice. I just try to take a breath and say, okay, let yourself receive. Because honestly, receiving is its own form of generosity. It lets others give, like, work their gifts too. So, our word of the day, receiving. And it is not a passive activity, my friends. I can tell you that from this story alone. It's really a sacred participation in the cycle of giving. And it allows us to say yes to the flow of life. It allows us to be nourished and guided and supported. And it's this soft courage to open our palms instead of crossing our arms. And it really does not make us weak. It actually makes us whole. And so our question for the day is, where in your life are you being invited to receive, whether it's in help or love or support or abundance? And can you let it in without apology or control? It's a tricky one today, my friends. I know this is something I'm working on so hard in my life. And I have realized that when I let myself receive, it's hard at first, but then life gets lighter. I get lighter. The people around me, the ones that love me, the ones that are trying to help, they finally get to give too. So today, let's all try to be a little more open. Let's see what wants to come and let it come, and what wants to go, let it go. And until next time, I am right here with you, practicing the art of receiving one surrendered moment at a time.